And then the other suggestion that can work, and we've been successful with this, is to make two versions of your film.
Mm-hmm.
One for the regular streamers, and then another MP4 edited version for a YouTube channel. And sometimes it's just a matter of taking out too many F-bombs.
This episode is brought to you by the best-selling book, Rise of the Film Entrepreneur, How to Turn Your Independent Film into a Money-Making Business. Learn more at filmbizbook.com. I'd like to welcome back to the show returning champion, Linda Nelson. How you doing, Linda?
I'm doing great, Alex. Thanks so much for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to speak with you and your audience. And so often filmmakers say, "Oh, I heard you on Indie Film Hustle." It's great. We love it.
I appreciate that. You were, if I remember, you were like episode 19. I think you were like, if I remember correctly, you were in the teens.
The first time.
Yeah, the very first time,
Yeah.
which still gets listens and still has great value in it, by the way. But now we're at episode 620 something or other now. So it's been, and you've been on. I mean, I mean, the record is still RB from Stage 32. He's been on like 13, 14 times. But you're up there. You're like been on 4 or 5 times at least.
Yes.
So we make it a yearly event at this point in the game. And it's always wonderful talking to you because you are in the trenches of indie distribution. And when I say indie distribution, I mean true indie distribution, not $5 million and we've got Darren Aronofsky making your movie. We're talking about $1 million below, $500,000 below kind of indies, which is where the majority of independent film is right now. So my very first question to you is, what is the state of film distribution right now?
Well, I'm happy to say that I think it's the best it's ever been. And we are experiencing more and more people submitting films to us, which I think means that more and more people are, there's a constant new stream of filmmakers making independent films and interested in making films, which is fantastic. And I swear at least 3 times a week, I've got a new platform coming to me saying, we want content from you, and part of that's because we have a very diverse catalog. So if somebody, especially new channels that are launching, right, they can, have a pretty good choice of content that they want. So there have to be 2,000 streaming channels out there now. So there's a huge opportunity, for independent film.
So let me ask you about those other, because I remember a couple, like 3 years ago or 4 years ago when I was the last AFM before the pandemic, I think it was 2019 or 2019. What I was hearing, OTT. Everyone was talking about OTT and these new streaming services coming over. What do you see? Do you see any major revenue coming in from those 2,000? I mean, other than the majors, other than the big boys, like these independent streamers around the world, are you seeing any money coming in from them?
The one that we're seeing the most from is actually YouTube. And we should, definitely
I'm going to tee you later. I'm going to tee you up on YouTube. Don't worry. But no, more about these independent ones.
Like YouTube or Roku channels, like there's constant stream of, and not all, it used to be that Roku was the only option for these new channels, right? Roku box. And so there have been 1,000 Roku channels for probably 2 years. But now all of a sudden there's just as much activity going on with Amazon Fire, which is another little way to turn your regular television into a smart TV. And it's just like a USB stick that you stick into, your TV, and it turns your TV into a smart TV. So all of these, technological innovations are making it possible for a lot more people to enjoy streaming. And what's great about all of these channels is that there are now very specific channels for niche content, which you've always, been a big proponent of understanding, who your audience is and understanding, that you need to find your audience, for your niche. So, for example, like Deco is for LGBT. I mean, didn't exist a year ago. year and a half ago, but now it's very popular. And so I'm getting, whenever someone comes to me with an LGBT film, they say, "Oh, can you get us on Deco?" Right. So, and there we have a fishing channel that's become popular. So the channels that I think will succeed are ones that are very specific with their content, right? So that you can find them. And I think that what's going to happen is that there will be a huge consolidation of the generalized ones. And we're seeing that because, like, you take, for example, Chicken Soup for the Soul. I don't know if you remember those books. They were so popular. There were about 20 different chicken soup books, right? Well, they got into the video business and started buying up channels. And they now own Screen Media, which owns Crackle. And they've now got about 10 streaming channels. So I think we're going to see a big consolidation, go on in the next 2 years, and things will settle down. Right now, it's just like this crazy,
Wild Wild West.
Yeah, Wild Wild West with tons of channels, and some of them, occasionally one pops up that's doing well. Roku channel seems to be doing well. I think there's something very specific happening with, like, the major studios. Because they were late getting into the game, they decided to buy or acquire existing successful channels rather than start over and have to, totally start from scratch. So you had Fox buy Tubi, right? And so that was, almost 2 years now. But what we're seeing, and this can make it more difficult for independent films, is that they are now loading up their star-driven content onto Tubi, and that is pushing down the indie content. So it just means that the indie filmmakers have got to work a little harder to make it into the carousels, the various carousels on the channel, so that they can get discovered. Or they have to do more direct marketing with links, to their content. So it's getting a little bit harder, to find some of our films on Tubi. And I think the same thing is going to happen with Vudu. So Universal via Fandango purchased Vudu from Walmart, and that's the same thing. And it's just because they want to have AVOD channels. They know the advertisers are putting their ads, on these channels, and it's a replacement for old-fashioned television. Except that you get to watch what you want to watch when you want to watch it. You don't need a TV guide. Just, you're going to be swiping through, all of the posters, and we'll talk about that later too.
So, you know what? Right now, the thing I always tell people is that the main money for independent films, unless it's of a certain budget range and a certain cast, is AVOD. AVOD is where most of the money is being made, unless you can drive traffic. If you can drive traffic, TVOD still somewhat, and we'll talk about TVOD in a minute. SVOD, we'll talk about in a minute as well. But AVOD is the place where most independent filmmakers are making their money. Now, if you've got Bruce Willis in your movie or Nicolas Cage in your movie, that's in a different stratosphere, and that's a different conversation. But based on a certain budget and certain cast, AVOD is the best. Is that what you're finding right now?
It is. We are seeing very few films be successful on TVOD. We have two right now that have made like 20, 30,000 in a month, but it's because it's not their first film. And, and that's a discussion in and of itself about building a body of work, so because they have that experience and they're on their third or fourth film, they have an existing audience that's waiting for their next film. So they've been able to really capitalize on that and do well on TVOD first. That run usually doesn't last more than, I would say, 3 or 4 months at the most, and then it'll start to trickle down. So what we do is we really carefully monitor the TVOD. And if we see nothing in the first month, we're turning on the SVOD if we can. and AVOD also. But if it's going well, we'll leave it just on TVOD until the revenue gets down to under $5,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to, kind of milk that for all we can while it lasts.
Yeah,
but it doesn't happen often.
Right, and again, it's because those filmmakers are driving traffic. They understand how to market, how to drink. I mean, I had right. Mark Toya on the show who made Monsters of Man, and he made, I think he's at the $6 or $7 million mark at this point. But he understands, and he had $1 million movie with no stars in it, but he understands how to market an action movie about robots in the jungle. And he was able to, and he did it so well that he's still making money every month. He's pulling 50, 60,000 on AVOD, and he still does TVOD as well, but he knew how to drive that traffic with Facebook ads and YouTube ads and that kind of stuff. But that's an anomaly. It's not like it was. I mean, I had Michael Polish on years ago in the first 100 episodes, and he made $500,000 on TVOD off of a movie called For Lovers Only, but it was 2010.
Yeah.
I mean, in iTunes was just starting, and he had a face of an actress who was, she was just starting out on a big show on Castle, and it just was this whirlwind, but it was a different time. That movie comes out today. I don't think TVOD's, it won't make $500,000.
No.
It's just a different world. So really quick, because I know we're throwing around terms that a lot of people understand. For everybody to understand, TVOD is transactional video on demand, AVOD is advertising video on demand, and SVOD is subscription video on demand. And transactional means rental, purchase, things like that. AVOD is ads, and subscription is Netflix and Amazon, those kind of Hulu and those kind of packages. Which brings me to my next question. In the AVOD space, because I know this has jumped back and forth a bunch, Pluto, Tubi, and YouTube, which we're going to talk about. Where are you seeing the biggest returns right now in the AVOD space, and where do you see it going in the next year or two, if you have that, if you can look in a crystal ball?
Oh, sure. Well, right now I have to say Tubi, but it is for kind of specific content. It's urban, it's crime, right? We do not have docs doing well on Tubi, for example. So
real quick, I don't mean to. Let me ask you about Tubi, and this is something so filmmakers listening can understand the mentality about Tubi. Tubi is a free service, so the customer base on the free service is going to probably be lower to middle income kind of people, generally speaking. Is that a fit? Because kind of movies.
I thought that too, but more and more people are saying, "Oh, I watch movies on Tubi all the time." Me personally, I don't like to be interrupted with ads, but there are a lot of people that grew up with regular television and they're used to getting up and going to the restroom or grabbing a snack, and it doesn't bother them. So I initially thought that, but I'm not of that persuasion anymore. And also, I think the fact that they now have a lot of star-driven content on the channel, that is also changing that.
Well, isn't but so what happened at Tubi is exactly what happened in the VHS market, because originally in the VHS market the studios were staying away from VHSs because they're like, no, we don't want to do it. And then the boys like Cannon and Troma and New World came in to fill up the content space. But as soon as the studio said, well, let's throw in our stuff, their back catalog stuff come in, and then, as you know, the Cannon boys went under. New World kind of did their thing, Troma kind of, but they all dropped because now they had competitions from Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt and all these big stars. Right. So that's what's happening now.
It is, and it's why I think that for indies, more niche channels are going to grow and become, better providers, of revenue. As long as they can survive. I mean, and we'll see in the next couple of years are going to be which of these channels that are still truly indie, are going to survive. And there'll be a number of them. Maybe we'll have 5, maybe we'll have 10. But also what's happening with those is that some of them are going global. And that's really affecting the whole marketplace too, and film markets. So we can talk about that a little bit. But I mean, like you take, for example, the Roku channel, they're planning on going global. Freevee, which is Amazon's AVOD channel, is planning on going global. And that's going to change things too. You know, and Europe is starting to catch up. One of our big goals at the market this year is to make sure we are connecting to the best streamer in every territory so that we can get content, you know, in all of the foreign territories. You know, because that's just happening now. They're way behind the United States.
So that's a good question then. If let's say Freevee, because I know Freevee is in, I think, the UK. They're launching in the UK soon, and they're starting to roll out. I've heard Freevee is a good place too right now for AVOD. It's like up there with Tubi. But if these big channels start to go,
it's not. I'm going to just stick something in there because I don't want to forget about it. Freevee is paying 10 cents an hour, period.
Yeah. That's right? Considered good.
It is, but it's not dependent on the number of ad impressions.
Right.
The way all the other AVODs pay you a specific rate based on 1,000 ad impressions.
Mm-hmm. So it's a different model. It's just a completely
different model.
So if these companies start going global, that's going to affect the markets. That means you can't sell to Germany because your film might already be in Germany because you were able to place it in Germany. So you're going to get more money out of your own placement in Germany, or you're going to make more money selling it to the guy or gal who, you know, can put it in Germany. Like, how has that changed the dynamics of the markets and being able to sell internationally?
It's really changing it because we have now started turning down some all rights deals in territories because we feel we can make more revenue streaming. And as some of these bigger streamers like Roku channel, Freevee, become global and accepted, you know, in the same way that it took Netflix a number of years, right, to go global and be global in all of these territories. You know, it's going to take some time for the indie streamers to mature in the marketplace too. But as that starts to happen, more and more, the all rights deals are not going to be as valuable, I don't think. And, you know, so those deals have tended to go down in value anyway. Right. And so,
right, yeah, it's not the $50,000 or $100,000 buyouts that you used to get.
Forget it. No, they're like 15, 20 for is good. So, but also it means that we have to really watch, you know, what's happening in these territories streaming wise. The thing that's really important for distributors now, and this has been pivotal for us, is that you have really great rights management software. You know, like for us, all of our content now lives in the cloud, and we have it's all, every time we make a sale, it's marked for that country so that when somebody comes to us and asks for a list of films that are available for their territory, we can do it just like that and deliver just like that. Whereas before, it would take a lot of research and digging through contracts to figure out, okay, which films are available for which territories, right? It was all done by hand and on spreadsheets for years, but now, you know, people are starting to, the technology is good enough to be able to do that. So for distributors, those are the distributors that are going to survive, are the ones that can really manage their rights effectively. So when, because I remember when we were doing our deals back in the day for my couple films, you were saying like, yeah, we're not going to sell to Australia because we already have it on Amazon, and the Australian guys, unless it's a special deal, we'll make more money just because of what they're going to do. They're going to put it up on Amazon. So we'll just keep that money. Would it make sense then? Would you be interested in selling other rights in those territories, like cable, things that you can't, cable, theatrical, things like that? Broadcast, airlines,
ships. Yeah.
Most of the films that we have are, you know, are not going to go theatrical. They're just not big enough budget, like you said, but it's rising. We're starting to now, kind of our upper limit is like 3 million, where it used to be 1 million. We're starting to get a little bit better quality films and start to see, some people, like we just got a fantastic doc that features Colin Farrell, who made a football team out of homeless people in Ireland, and it's fantastic, So I mean, the more we can do that, the better relationships we're going to be able to build with, broadcasters. So that's opening up more for us than it was in the past.
So let me ask you this, though, and I want this for people to really open up their ears with this. Star power is still star power. The only thing that trumps star power is niche, and the niche has to be executed almost perfectly. And there's a lot of work to do that. But right now, as you see that those carousels, those thumbnails go by, you stop generally when there's a star that you recognize. Is that still true at any budget range almost?
100%. And it's like when we got that film with Colin Farrell and there was no picture of Colin Farrell on the poster. I'm like, yeah, and it may have been his personal preference to say, no, I don't want the spotlight on me. I want the spotlight on the team, but we were able to, change our landscape posters and have him, a good picture of his face with a couple of team members and stuff. And it makes a huge difference. It really, really does. And so star power is important. And the niche thing, the truth of the matter is there are big niches and small niches.
Right, yeah. But the basket weaving movie is not that big of a deal.
No. Or so like if you have a movie about baseball, that's huge. And we had a baseball film that just did tremendously well because of that. But for example, LGBT, if you get really specific niche there and it's only about trans, that niche is much smaller, right? So
than baseball.
Than baseball. So you have to really work a lot harder, at connecting. So, yes, niche is important, but you have to be sure that, you're going to be able to connect to that audience.
And then
it can cross over. I mean, we've had some films that start out with a small niche, and because the film is so good, it expands. And it's interesting to a broader audience.
And I know a large part of your catalog, you've really focused on urban films and films that aim at that demographic, that niche audience. And they've done exceptionally well with no star power. And sometimes, I've seen some of the trailers. I'm like, how much did they make this for? Like, what? And it's being watched how much? Like, it's not... it's not like high end, giant but big budget productions, but they understand their audience so well. I mean, it's what Tyler Perry did.
Exactly.
It's exactly what Tyler Perry did. He's like, he knows his audience. The Medea movies, when they were starting out, were not huge budget films, and they don't look like they're huge budget films, but he does good money. He's done okay. That Tyler Perry. He's done okay. He's done okay for himself.
He has some amazing studio in Atlanta.
I know, it's stunning.
Unbelievable.
Stunning. So you've noticed that in the urban space, that's an example of a niche which is very large and still underserved. Am I correct?
It's becoming less so because it's incredible how many people, like in Detroit, Atlanta, Michigan, LA. It's a new way besides music to try and make a name for yourself. And so because the costs of making a film has come down so much, because we just got a film yesterday where the film was shot on an iPhone because the new iPhone does ProRes files.
Yeah, it's stunning. Yeah.
So it just, the cost has come down, and so like people that start young and they can really create a name for themselves. I mean, we have filmmakers from Detroit that started when they were, like, I don't know, 18, 20 years old. And now they got 5 films under their belt and the productions look really good.
And they're getting up there.
We have a new series coming out that the filmmaker feels is almost comparable to The Wire. Okay, so we'll see. I mean, it looks fantastic, right? I mean, a lot of times people think their content is better than it is.
You mean crazy filmmakers who think that they're the next Spielberg? No, that never happens. There's no egos in our business, Linda. Come on.
So there's a lot more urban content, and we have more competition. There was a time I think we were kind of like the pioneers in the beginning, for that, and we helped a lot of companies grow. And so now it's interesting. There are several distributors that are focusing on urban content.
Now, is SVOD a thing anymore? Because that's so many things that people, young filmmakers, especially indies, 500 million or below, they're like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon buy. I haven't even heard of Amazon buying an indie film anytime in recent years. What are you seeing? Because I know you have, like, I remember you did that. Was it the Blockbuster or the Netflix documentary that got sold off? But that's such a specific thing in the SVOD space. Are you seeing SVOD deals? And if you are, what kind of deals are you seeing?
We're seeing SVOD deals that are niche specific, like that fishing channel, right? And there's a sports channel that's, so we're seeing some very niche specific SVOD channels. As far as the big guys go, Netflix, as far as we're concerned, is not for indie films. Our level of indie films. It just isn't. They won't pay you enough, and they require so much exclusivity that you've blown it. Everybody's seen it, and you've made no money. I mean, we had one filmmaker who had about a $250,000 film, waited almost a year for his offer from Netflix. They kept promising, and they kept keeping us on hold for a year. Finally, the offer came through, $35,000. Okay, so he was heartbroken. What do you
Of course.
So I mean, it's just not worth it to waste your time. They want it, so that's the big SVOD that's still there. Hulu is ad support now. Hulu, it's both. It's a combination. They have 3 different tiers, right? But they're only doing original content now. So they'll buy, but it's the same as Netflix, same as,
Well, I sold This Is Meg before This Is Meg came to you. I sold This Is Meg to Hulu, and in 2017, that never would happen today in a million years, because it was
our film Delivered. We went to Hulu.
Yeah, but it was just a different place back then, and it's just remarkable now. Because SVOD is just this big thing that everyone always talks about, and I just wanted to kind of debunk that. You were going to say,
well, there's 2 other things. Netflix is adding in November an AVOD.
Of course, they have to. Right. An option. Yeah, of course, they have to.
And then Prime, I still, in my head, I'm thinking Amazon wants to move most of Prime over to Freevee.
Mm-hmm.
But still, we have a number of films that have good enough customer engagement. I mean, I even have people come to me and say, "Oh, don't put me on, Amazon Prime because it's only a penny an hour." Well, no, it's at the penny an hour if you do nothing and don't promote your film. Yes, but for our filmmakers that work on promoting their films, getting reviews the way we teach them, then they have a CER in the 90s and they're getting 12 cents an hour. So, which is good.
I mean, 12 cents is better than 1 cent. But isn't it sad, Linda, though? Like, you've been in the game long enough to remember when you could actually make more than 12 cents.
Oh, 20.
For one.
Amazon started
view.
at 20.
I understand, but you remember when you were making $3.99.
Oh yeah.
for a rental, or $9.99, or God forbid a DVD at $20 per purchase.
It's only 4 or 5 years since that iTunes was the top revenue producer for us.
Yeah, right.
And it was all paid transactional. And that's because there was this slow transition from the video store to streaming, right? Mm-hmm. So the only advantage to like iTunes and Amazon TVOD was you didn't have to get in your car and go to Blockbuster, right? That was the advantage. So you were still used to paying $3.99, $4.99 to rent a DVD for the weekend, and we used to all go to the video store and pick up 3 or 4 movies for the weekend. I mean, it was,
we're dating ourselves. We're dating ourselves, Linda.
but so that, and slowly that has transitioned to the fact where people don't want to pay for it anymore. Right. They just don't want to pay unless Tom Cruise is in it, or
but that's like one movie, like Top Gun is an anomaly. Like that's such an anomaly, because I actually paid for that movie. Like I watched it in the theater, and then when it came out, I was like, I'm buying it because it's such an amazing. I want to see it on my surround sound at home and all that stuff. But that's rare. Now Marvel movies come out, and unless it's a Marvel movie that I really, really want to go see, I'm like, it's going to be on Disney Plus in 2 months. Mm-hmm. I'll wait, and then I can see it at home in my surround sound. Like for me it doesn't do it for me as much as it used to. And I think a lot of people
especially if you've got kids.
Exactly.
I mean, it's so expensive to take kids to the theater now.
It's still. I mean, you take Top Gun and all the Marvel movies out of the theatrical experience last year. And what do they have really? It's going to be a tough, it's not what it used to be, without any question. Now, you mentioned this little new company called YouTube that's coming up, and I've seen firsthand. I've had other people on the show talking about it. You mentioned it, I think, in our last conversation, and people, filmmakers, the filmmaking snobs, if you will, because we're all geniuses. All of our work is Oscar worthy. I understand that. And when you hear the word YouTube, you're like, you want to put me up next to cat videos? That's ridiculous. Tell everybody the truth of what kind of revenue is being generated on YouTube right now.
Well, we have a comedy special that made $30,000 last month.
Month?
Our YouTube channel.
On your YouTube channel.
On our YouTube channel. Okay. And, it's interesting. Still, like you were talking about, almost all of our filmmakers, when they first come to us, they're like, oh, no, please don't put my movie on YouTube. It's too good to be on YouTube.
It's way too good.
And it's just that I think for the most part, filmmakers don't stay on top of what's going on in the industry, right? So which is why I think it's like really important for filmmakers to allocate a little time, like each week, just to see what's going on in the industry, because it is constantly changing, and it seems to be changing more rapidly now than ever. This whole new concept of MCNs, which are multi-channel networks, has actually been around for probably about more than 10 years, would you say, Michael? Mm-hmm. Because Disney bought the first big MCN, and paid a lot of money for it.
Maker Studio.
And so they've been around for a long time, but it's kind of been under the radar because YouTube, people don't see YouTube as being comparable to Universal or Paramount or Warner Brothers or even Netflix. But
they're bigger. They're bigger than all of them.
They're bigger than all of them together.
Right.
Okay? 2.6 billion active users. That's a lot of eyeballs. And we really think not this year, but by the end of next year, that they will be the largest broadcaster of independent film.
No question.
I believe that. And there's so many advantages of having your content there. Okay, we have a channel, and we really just started building our channel in January or February, right? Really building it. We've always had one, and we used to use it just to put trailers on it. And then the trailers would have a link to where you could rent the movie.
Tubi or Amazon,
yes, Tubi or Amazon or whatever. And then we realized that when the bigger MCNs were coming to us, asking us for content, well, what's going on here, right? So we have a partnership with Valley Arms. Valley Arm is out of Australia, and they're one of the largest MCNs, and they were really smart. They set up all of these different specific niche channels. So they have their main channel is called Movie Central. And then there's Movie Central Horror, Movie Central Drama, Movie Central Sci-Fi, Movie Central Docs, right? And so if you look up Movie Central, you'll see they have like 11 channels. And so they market those channels. So there's very specific places for people to see, the content. And not only that, YouTube actually markets
their algorithm.
The content. Their algorithm pushes 95% of our views come from recommendations from Google, just naturally through the algorithm, not the filmmakers. Only 5% comes from the filmmakers directly saying. I think there's still some resistance to people saying, watch my movie on YouTube. But I think they'll get over that quickly.
It's a branding thing. It's a branding thing.
You get to see our reports. So when you see the next set of reports, not so much this one because we just started really in January, February, but for 4 or 5 years, we had only 10,000 subscribers, right? Well, now we have 250,000, right? Just this year. And it's going really, really well. So we're now starting our movies on our YouTube channel, and that's Indie Writes Movies for free. But we also work with 3 MCNs. We work with Jungo TV, and they have a couple of channels. And the films are getting millions of views. And it's amazing. The MCNs actually have a special relationship with Google, where Google gives them more information and features than just a regular individual YouTube user has. But,
and also, so everybody listening, thinking like, okay, great, I'm just going to put my movie up on YouTube. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. You need to have a channel that's monetized. First of all, which you need over 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch within a 12-month period.
You also need a lot of subscribers.
A lot, 1,000 subscribers isn't going to do it. So, but I've been I started doing a lot of research into these MCMs, and it was pretty interesting to see. I mean, some of these have 3, 4, 5, 7 million, 10 million subscribers. So you're thinking about that. You're like, well, if you just put a movie up, if 1%, or 5% or 10% watch, right away, and then the algorithm starts kicking in. And if it's something that's niche, then it goes into the niche algorithms. And if you know what you're doing on YouTube and how to optimize it. And also one thing that's really interesting too, the CPMs are high, much higher.
They're the highest.
Much higher than Amazon, much higher than Tubi even, right?
Yeah. Yes.
It's just volume right now. So it's just coming up. Right. Now, do you believe, this is really interesting because the studios haven't done this yet. They're scared too to jump in. They'll put their movies up for rental on YouTube. What I've seen is the clips. They do a lot of the clips of, famous movies. And that's been going on for a while. Do you think that they're going to open up,
They already are. There's several studios that are putting their content up on.
Like Lionsgate? I'm sure Lionsgate will do soon.
I have to go back and look, but we researched that too. And they're starting to do it also. They realize the value too.
There's a lot of value there, and there's a lot of eyeballs
2.6 billion eyeballs. There's plenty of room for all of us there, you know.
Right.
So
But it's also what you've done is interesting because you're creating your own CBM. So that
right.
means it's your audience, your subscribers, free of charge, are going to your channel. So your
And we're
content's going to be seen up there first.
and we're not splitting that revenue with anyone else. If we were put our movies up to an MCN, they're automatically taking half of it, the
Right.
revenue. And
Right.
so then we are paying our filmmakers 80% of half of the revenue. Whereas the stuff that's on our channel, they're getting 80% of all the revenue, which is great. And the other thing that is so incredible about YouTube is the analytics are beyond belief. They'll
Insane.
tell you what cities are watching it, so you can focus your marketing. They tell you what cities. They tell you what age, what gender.
Everything.
It's the demographics are beyond belief. Nobody else does that. I mean, I can't tell you how many. Finally, Tubi now has a new portal for distributors, and we can see by territory. But up till a couple of months, July 1st, they opened a new portal to us, so we can see what's selling in Mexico, what's selling in the U.S., what's selling in Australia and New Zealand. So I think, like I said, as these channels go global, there's going to be more and more opportunity, and hopefully we'll get more demographic information. Like for Amazon, we only know by country.
Yeah, it's a completely different mindset because YouTube is built around
demographics.
YouTube is essentially a social media platform mixed with a video platform. So their analytics are crazy, and they want their creators to have as much information as possible so they can continue to create. So it's like a perfect storm. So you guys have essentially become your own platform and a distributor as well. So hopefully one day you have 10 million subscribers and you just sit there and like, you know what, we're just putting it up on our channel. Nobody else is going to pay us enough. We're just doing that, and we'll just split that with you. And that it might be now. One other thing though. So if you have an exclusive right to the movie, nobody else can put it up on YouTube other than you. So there's only one copy of that floating around. But if you're working with other MCMs, how does that work if there's two of the same movie going on?
No. They currently YouTube is allowing multiple copies of the same movie. They whitelist us. We have what's called Content ID. And so like Valley Arm, they whitelist us, so we're allowed to put the same content that they have. We've heard whispers that eventually that YouTube's not going to want to have competing channels,
competing content. Competing
content. Well, the channels are competing,
but the same movie.
Yes, the same exact movie. So but that has not happened yet. And if it does, they're going on our channel.
Right, because you control it. And you're growing it at such a rapid rate because you're offering basically free movies to an international market. And then you could also do translations to other languages if you want and target those. There's so many different things, but you're in complete control of it. You're not dealing with it.
And what's great is it's so simple just to geo-block. So say we have a film and we've already sold it to Germany and Malaysia and Taiwan. Then when we're setting that up on our YouTube channel, we just block those territories. Block those territories. So, again, that rights management issue is really, really important.
I've been yelling it from the top of the mountain that YouTube's the future, and people are like, "You're crazy." I'm like, no. I've been a YouTuber for over 7 years as well. So I've seen what happened on my own YouTube channel. And then I started talking to other people who have MCMs that have done very, very well and are continuing to do very, very well. And so let me ask you then, what do you see around the corner in your eyes? Do you see, obviously YouTube is going to be, I think you're right. YouTube's going to take over as far as independent films are concerned, revenue generation for independent films, generally speaking. Yeah. Do you see something else coming around the corner that you're hearing whispers of?
Well, one, for the first time in July, streaming surpassed broadcast in revenue for the first time. And it's actually taken longer than I thought. 10 years ago, I would have said 5 years. But it's taken 10 years, for it to happen. But the rate of decline is getting faster now. So I think you'll see very quickly that traditional broadcast cable is just going to disappear.
Or go into like HBO Max, or go into
they're just going to be pure streaming.
There's not going to be broadcast as much. I mean,
Right.
we will come to a time where broadcast is gone.
Except
Maybe people
for the things that may stay, although maybe not, because of the internet, is like sports, live events.
But that's on Amazon Prime.
Exactly. So
Thursday Night Football.
I mean, we watch the Formula One races on, over the internet, streaming on YouTube TV.
Yeah, ESPN Plus. That's streaming now too. Like, there's a lot of these channels are.
Yeah. So for the foreseeable future, I see streaming. I'm not real hot on these virtual stuff that's going on. Like we actually have a movie streaming in a virtual theater in Decentraland. You know what that is? Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So there's virtual lands out there where people are opening businesses and shops and stuff. And, so you can meet people, with your avatar and go together to a movie theater and watch one of our movies in a virtual thing. But I don't see that taking over.
She said famously on this episode. And then 5 years from now, I was so wrong. We're making millions off this virtual crap. You don't know, but you know what? Like, if you would have told me about that whole virtual reality, I'm like, look, it's old as video games themselves. Yes. But it's turning into, I mean, people are buying virtual real estate on certain platforms.
Oh, yes. Well, Decentraland, there's land for sale there where you could build a building and, have a business. And
it's insane.
It is.
It's insane.
It reminds, there used to be was it Sim City?
Sims. Yeah, well, Sim City and The Sims, yeah.
And I did that back there, but it died. And I tried to go back and think, why did that not really catch on?
The tech.
Yeah, the tech. And maybe it was just the internet wasn't fast enough or good enough back then. So I don't know, but so I don't see that happening. I just think we're going to be living in a streaming world, that there are going to be that there will be a mass consolidation, but that the ones that survive will either be the big boys or very specific niche content platforms streaming. And, and it's going to settle down. There's a million things bubbling up there right now, but it's going to settle down. And then there's going to be, maybe there'll be 200 or 300 channels, the same way there was on cable. If you think back, when cable.
Oh my God, you're right. There was like hundreds of cable channels.
Right. Yeah. And then, but it's settled down to, some reasonable amount that people watch.
70 cable channels, as opposed to like 500. Yeah, it was exactly. It was insane.
So I think we'll see the same thing happen with streaming.
So when you guys went to Cannes this year, what was it? What did you see there, and what did you see differently? And obviously, I think that was the first one since the pandemic, right? It was live. So what did you see?
We saw less people, less buyers, less exhibitors, and I think that the reason for that, well, one, there were still some countries that couldn't participate. Mm-hmm. So I think the real bellwether is going to be AFM this year. But already I can see that there are only about, 200 exhibitors so far. Normally there's 600.
But some big, but yeah, well, I mean, you can't compare to pre-pandemic times. But from what I'm hearing, because I'll be at AFM this year, and I'm working closely with those guys, and they're telling me the numbers, and there are some big studios that are showing up. So that's nice. So that's what they say, that they've signed up and people are buying. But it is a shorter AFM. It is more condensed. They are focusing it more now, from what I understand, to the independent filmmaker or independent producer showing up as opposed to distributors and buyers as much showing up. So they're doing a lot more education. They're trying to pivot a bit, because a lot of that business can be done arguably online, because it was done for the last 2 years online. So it's weird. So I'm really curious to see what it's going to be like at AFM this year.
Yes, and also AFM is doing what Cannes did, and that is to allow exhibitors to not have an office in the main venue. And I really think that's a bad idea and counter to their survival. So there are a number of companies and that are having their office in the condo they're renting, right?
Oh, and not having
any presence in the actual building itself. And I think it's very bad for the market. But
interesting.
Yeah, and so they're getting all the benefits, where we have to pay a lot of money to have an office in the hotel, right? Plus, we have to pay the $3,500, kind of registration for the company. They're getting away with just paying that, and they still get all the benefit of being in, in Sedano, being in the printed catalogs, being able to do screenings, and being able to walk around and, meet everybody in the venue. So I don't know. I just didn't think it was a very good idea. So I think I think in the end it's going to hurt them because I don't know. If they're going to be working towards, producers going to visit people, if there's less people to visit, how do you promote that, right? And we're not seeing a lot of pre-sale activity.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting market, to say the least. The first one that we're
going to have our normal wine and cheese party on Friday night, and you're welcome.
I'm not sure I'll be there on Friday night, but I will be there a little bit because I've got kids and there's Halloween coming up. So I'm not sure what the days are, but I'll be there. I think
Halloween is our setup day.
So I'll be there, I think, the 2nd through the 4th. I'm going to be there during those times because I'm speaking on the 3rd there. So that'll be.
Well, you can come the night of the 3rd.
We will come. We will definitely connect. No question. Now, I want to also kind of debunk this because so many filmmakers still believe this as a truth, and it's not, in my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Film festivals. What does it actually mean to you guys? What does it actually mean to a distributor? And obviously, if you win Sundance and South by, it's great. It's nice. I'd like to win South by or Sundance, but it doesn't have the juice that it used to have. In my opinion. So, what's your opinion on film festivals, and how does that affect your acquisition, and how does it affect sales, if any?
If you don't get in one of the top 10, I would then only do maybe 1 or 2 local regional festivals, so close to where you live so that you don't spend a lot of money on it because it's not worth it. The smaller ones, it's nice to, if you have a couple laurels, but now that everything is streaming, platforms won't let us put laurels on the posters.
I haven't seen one.
Stripped off. I think, is Amazon letting us? No, everyone now is stripping off. We have to strip the laurels off the posters. That used to be the big advantage, is that you could put the laurels on your poster. You can still, now what we suggest to people to do is, when you have your trailer, have a screen, one of the, screens show your laurels, so, it can have a little value. But like I said, if you don't get in the top 10, do 1 or 2 locals, and that's it. Because what we've seen happen is filmmakers, they get on this run, and we have one film that went to 25 festivals. Well, by the time they got through with that, the film's 2 years old, because people have a very bad habit of saying their premieres when they premiere at a festival. Your film is not released when it's not premiering till it's in release, right? And so filmmakers have got to stop doing that on IMDb, because every buyer that looks at our films looks at IMDb to see what year it was produced. And I've lost 3 sales because of that.
Because of that. Yeah. And it's again, and I think that's a holdover from the 90s. And it's a holdover from that era of like, oh, you've got to be in Sundance or South by or Tribeca. And all of those are wonderful. But if you've got a movie with no stars in it, and if it's not the proper genre, and you happen to win one of those festivals, which I've been part of those movies and I've seen those firsthand, it doesn't sell. It just won't sell just because Sundance is on, you won award at Sundance, unless it's a proper niche, proper genre, or has some talent. Yeah, like, Palm Springs sold for 17.5 million. I'm like, yeah, it had Andy Samberg and J.K. Simmons in it. Are you kidding me? Like, come on. Like, that was done already. And that was a deal beforehand almost. But it's just, I just want to kind of debunk that for filmmakers listening, that don't waste your time waiting a year or two.
And money.
Oh, God.
Save your money for marketing.
I mean, and this is something that I know you deal with a lot. You and Michael deal with a lot, Linda, is emotion, because this is such an emotional product. It's not cookies. It's not stationery. It's not staplers. It's not printers. This is art that someone who's put their heart and soul into, and now they give it to you to do the business with. But then they have these delusions in their head or misunderstandings about how the business is run, that they have expectations. Like, I just talked to some guy the other day, and he's like, yeah, I have this horror movie. I looked at the horror movie, has no stars in it. Nicely produced, but nothing, out of this world. And I said, look, go to Linda, I'll give you 2 or 3 distributors that I recommend for this kind of budget. And it was done for like sub 100,000. And he, I sent him to a distributor, and the distributor called me. He's like, the dude says he's expecting 600K because someone told him it was 600K. I'm like, are you out of your, ignore him. Ignore him. He's crazy. But that's the thing. And then that craziness will last about 6 months to a year until they figure out, oh, wait a minute, nobody's really going to give me 600K for this. No one's going to give me 100K for this. Hey, no one's going to give me any K for this. I'm just going to donate this to somebody. So essentially and that's, so how do you deal with the emotions of the insanity that is being a filmmaker? Because you guys are filmmakers yourselves. So you guys are a little insane as well.
We are, and we're getting ready to go into pre-production on a film of our own. So, right. It's do
you know a good distributor?
and it's very interesting, because I would say at least half of the filmmakers that come to us that we decide to work with have overvalued ideas of their film. And it's like and they've done some things that have really almost kind of self-sabotaged them from the beginning, like making their film in black and white. For an indie film with no names in it, you stay away from black and white. We've not been successful with one black and white film, and right now it's a reason for us to just not take a film. And that's a shame. The other thing is that for some reason, indie filmmakers think they have to be super edgy, right? They have to have sex in it, and really extreme violence, and show everything. You don't have to show everything. You could be like Hitchcock, right? And just see the blood going down the drain, and we know somebody's been stabbed, right? And that's particularly true when it comes to AVOD. Mm-hmm. And this is something that people don't think about when they're shooting their film and figuring out their shots and what they're going to show on the screen and what they're not. It's critical that you don't have excessive drug, sex, profanity, because advertisers won't put their ads on your content. Probably half of our library is unsuitable for ads, which is a shame, because we like everybody's film to be able to go on our YouTube channel, but we just can't because they get denied. So every filmmaker, before they pick their shots and do their shot list, go on YouTube and look at their community guidelines. and read them. They're pretty clear. They give very specific examples of what, what's acceptable and what's not. So really think about, where's your film going to wind up? And it's not, artists don't usually, they're not trained to think that way, or they're not trained at all. They just don't normally think that way. But if you want success in the business and you want to stay in the business, then you need to make films that have a chance of being successful. And if your films are really good, they're going to be successful. So it's not like you're doing it for the money. You're not doing it for the wrong reason, but you do. There are certain things that you have to keep in mind, when you're writing, if you're a writer, or if you're the cinematographer, the director, how you're going to shoot and stuff. Really, really good. And then the other suggestion that can work, and we've been successful with this, is to make 2 versions of your film. Mm-hmm. One for the regular streamers, and then another MP4 edited version for a YouTube channel. And sometimes it's just a matter of taking out too many F-bombs. Mm-hmm. Right? We had one movie got turned down for moaning. They didn't even show the simulated sex, but there was a lot of moaning.
Apparently a lot.
And so as soon as they took the moaning out, it passed. So anyway, so it's something to keep in mind when you're shooting your film.
And you know what? A lot of people are like, oh, but I'm an artist, I don't have to do that. I'm like, look, Scorsese couldn't get Taxi Driver through the boards to get an R rating because of, obviously, Taxi Driver is a bit violent. Even for the 70s, it was a bit violent. And all he did was desaturate the blood in the color timing. Wow. And because he desaturated the blood, it passed. Man. Everyone's got to deal with censorship in that sense, because look, this is just the world we live in. If you want to then build up your own channel somewhere in OTT and have people pay you directly to watch your films, good luck. But that's an option if you want to be an artist. But this is a business, and you have to think about it as a business. It is the weirdest business, one of the weirdest businesses in the world, because it is art and commerce together. And you got to kind of figure out that balance to make it work for you. Now, there was one
other thing that's really important about YouTube, and that is music rights.
Oh, God.
We've had terrific amount of problems with people a lot of people, unfortunately, when they license music for their film, they just get festival rights, right? And then they don't go back and,
never get festival rights.
We suggest that you get perpetual rights right from the beginning.
Always.
And quite frankly, if your film's under $100,000, I would say just ask for internet rights. It's a lot cheaper than trying to ask for theatrical rights.
Or I'll tell you what, there's so many music services out there. Soundstripe, Film Pack, there's so many. Like I did for both of my movies, I used music from these stock places that give you complete rights if you pay, if you're a member. And there's some really great songs on the Corner of Ego and Desire. All the music in there, except for I think 2 pieces of music which I bought outright rights to, or had my composer do, were songs with lyrics, and they were perfect for the scenes, and they cost me nothing because it was just part of my membership of $180 a year, something like that. So there are other options. And if you're really going down and dirty, there is free YouTube music that you can download from YouTube itself to use for your content as well. It all depends. But yeah, I agree. So many movies. Now, that's another thing with post. So like, I know you like to use the term post on your films, and filmmakers have to understand post. Preparing for deliverables and preparing to get your movie into distribution, from when I was doing it back in the day in my post house, was much more complicated than it is today, where it seems that it's a lot easier, but still a lot of pitfalls to fall into. So can you kind of go a little bit over post and what you're looking for in movies?
Right. So first I'll talk about, making sure that you're preparing for distribution. Most of the premium platforms, their minimum requirement is 1920 by 1080 ProRes 422 HQ 2-channel stereo. So we always require that from our filmmakers. That's the basic format, and your trailer must match the feature.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so same frame rate, right? And so it must be the same. If you've also, have a 4K or a 5.1, you can include those optionally to us, but you must have that one format, because that will work for us to put on every single channel. So that's really critical. And there are some basic rules that you have to follow. For example, different distributors will be different. We have a bumper, with our logo on it that we require you to put on the front of your film, in the same way that Universal or Warner Brothers or anybody else would have you put that on there. And that has to be preceded by 2 frames of black in the beginning and 2 frames of black at the end. No more tones, no more color bars. Even for broadcasting, they're not requiring that anymore. So they don't, it's not something that we want. And nobody will take it. That has to be stripped off. And also, you cannot, on the back end, you can't put any URLs. So don't put your website. Don't promise any of your people that donated stuff that you'll put their website on there or their Instagram handle. No @ handles, no URLs. Not allowed. Probably 20% of the films that we get have that, and they have to redo their film. So that's really, really important. And if you don't have a still photographer, your editing system will produce very high-res screen grabs. We always need at least 5 of those. And we also need closed captions, 2 formats, .scc and .srt, right? So those are all of and the most important thing that you have to think about is your poster. Okay.
Thumbnail.
And when we require 2. We require a portrait, aspect ratio poster and a landscape poster, because some platforms use landscape and some use portrait. And have really clear title art. It has to really show up. If you have some little skinny font that you can't read it when you stand back, they'll reject it. They want strong title art. Has to be Photoshop and all text on separate layers. And strong images. No little people on the beach looking out somewhere. You have faces. If you have anybody that's of importance, you want their face on the poster. But strong, bold images, because your poster needs to be clickbait. When somebody's sitting with their remote control or their phone or their laptop and they're just flipping through posters, they've got to be grabbed by your poster. They have to be.
So obviously a puppy saving Christmas, that's obviously going to sell all day.
Yes. So if you have a Christmas tree and a little puppy looking up at it,
and maybe there's like a helicopter and he's hanging with it, like he's looking cool, that done. Someone's clicking on that. And then put Dean Cain on it. So
the posts are really important, and the trailer. I'm going to say 2 things about shooting and editing. Your trailer is important for TVOD sites. It has to move quickly. A lot of fast cuts. Even if it's a drama, you still want it to move quickly. No long dwelling moments, in your trailer.
Artistic moments.
Yeah, no. So you don't want that. So you want it to be very fast paced, under 2 minutes. Has to be under 2 minutes. If it's over, they truncate it, and that messes up your trailer. So keep it under 2 minutes. And then regarding the movie, it's more important than ever to engage quickly with the audience, especially on AVOD. Because if somebody doesn't get engaged quickly, they're going to just flip right out because they haven't paid for it. And they will just like bounce off and try something else. On AVOD, usually they don't even watch trailers. They just start the movie, and if they get engaged, they stay. If they don't get engaged, they're gone. So don't start with these slow moving, building, moments. No, you need something has to happen in the beginning. And don't put everyone's credit on the front of the movie. All you need is the directors and the cast. That's it. And then you can put everybody's credits on the back, because we get movies sometimes, you get 10 minutes of credits on the front. We say, oh, we have to thank everybody. We didn't pay them. And you can't do it. People just don't stay. And especially with AVOD, because you're getting paid based on how many ads people watch. And if they only watch 5 minutes and they leave,
you're done.
You're not going to make any money. They're not going to come back.
It's just such a different way of looking at the process. And filmmakers need to, people listening, guys, please listen to what Linda's saying, because it is, I mean, look, we've been talking, 7 years at this point, Linda? I mean, you've been coming on the show for 7 years. Okay. Many of the things that you're saying have not changed. Many things have, as far as the business is concerned, but a lot of these core ideas have not changed. And to think about your movie as a business is different. If you want to make an art house film, then just make an art house film, a backyard film, something that's art. Then go to some museum, see if they'll play it. Put it up yourself somewhere and see what happens. But don't be upset when you don't win the Oscar. And now you have to think about, like, okay, you're almost changing the filmmakers almost have to think like YouTubers, where they have to engage within the first 5 seconds, 10 seconds. If not, someone's going to click away. Where the older filmmakers of the generation behind us, even in the 90s, you could take your time, you could build because you were in a theater, or you just rented a VHS or DVD, and you can't click away from that. You're kind of locked in. So it had to be really bad for you to get up, eject the tape, or pop out the DVD, or things like that. So it was a different environment. In theatrical, you were pretty much locked in there for those 2 hours. So it was a much more artistic situation. But nowadays, you're just competing with too much media, from social media to YouTube creators who, some guy who makes a 20-minute video about what Mr. Beast doing whatever he does it's going to hold more people's attention when he does like the Squid Games redo with live people now. And he did it all. That thing made millions of dollars. And it cost him millions to make, but I think he pulled in at the end of the whole thing. I think that the numbers were like, $750,000 million or plus take home off of that deal, and probably more so than now. But that's what you're competing with, and especially if you're on YouTube.
Right. And so then to answer the second half of your question about post, we used to always think of, your film journey as, being in development and then pre-production and production and then post, and then you were done. Boom, you give it to a distributor, finished. Well, now there is a new phase, and we call it post. And that's about posting after post-production, and it's critical to the success of your movie. And you can prepare for post throughout your production cycle. Everyone on your set has got a 4K camera in their pocket. Everyone can be doing, small interviews with their castmates or their crewmates, or, what's going on. And if you would provide them with a folder on, like, say, Google Drive, they can all upload to that, and you're going to be collecting these assets that will become very valuable to you during post. Because the worst thing I see people do when they realize, oh my God, my film's done and now I got to do some promotion, is they post their trailer 500 times and people get sick of seeing it. You just can't just use your trailer, right? So we have a lot of different strategies for, how and what to post and where. The The second thing I think that's really, really critical for people to understand is that your movie is not a brand. And we've been trying to pitch this for a long time, and people still, they want to, they want to see the film as a brand, and it's not. The filmmaker is a brand. I don't think any filmmaker makes a movie thinking this is the only movie I'm going to ever make. No, they make a movie because they want to make movies, and they want to do it long term. If they want that dream to come true, then they have to learn how to be successful, and part of that is learning about the business side of it. So the filmmaker is the brand. It could be your production company. Say you have 2 or 3 people that have got together and made a production company, and you're planning on, making movies together for a long time. We have several, companies like that. And then so your YouTube channel, your Twitter account, your Instagram account should be the brand, which is you or your production company, so that you're building, as you build your body of work, you're building an audience. And so if this is your first film, fine, and that's all it's going to be on those channels. When you do your next film, then you're going to push that down on the channel and you're going to feature the new movie. But you're already going to have subscribers and followers and people waiting for that new movie. So you're constantly building bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why, like I told you, that one filmmaker had 600,000 emails, from all the movies that they've made and built up their brand. And then on Facebook, you make a separate page for each project. That way you're minimizing the number of profiles you have to maintain as well. If you start making a separate one for every single movie, next thing you know, you're going to have 40 or 50 profiles to maintain. That's insane.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So you want to keep in mind that you are the brand, and you want to build up, an audience for your body of work so that people, will look to you. It's, that's how people like Coppola and any of these big, producers,
Scorsese and
Christopher Nolan. I don't care how big they are. They all started building. He started with Memento. It was an independent film, right? And you build a body of work, and then people are waiting for your next movie eventually. And, movie making, you get better and better as you go on. It's just something that you learn and perfect your craft. And, so that's all really, really important.
So, Linda, where can people find out more about you and what you and Michael are doing over at Indie Rights?
Well, our website is indierights.com, and there's a lot of information there, a lot of testimonials. You can actually see our contract there. Part of our reputation is that we're very, very transparent. We have a great YouTube channel now that's called Indie Rights Movies for Free. And that's where you'll find a lot of our movies. They're full feature-length films in HD, and eventually that's where our movies go. Of course we take the time to exploit other avenues first. You'll get to go to a market, like I have each market we go to, we make a really nice catalog that features each film. And if you have done your work and gotten tomatoes, you'll have a tomato on your page and a quote. And so everybody gets to be in this book 4 times, once for each Cannes and AFM. You get a big page, and then afterwards you get a small page. After 2 years, buyers aren't interested in even looking. So you need to make the most of those first 2 years. And then, so those are the 2 best places to find us. We're also, of course, on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook.
Linda, it has been a pleasure talking to you as always. You are a wealth of information, and I appreciate all the work that you've been doing to help filmmakers over the years and trying to get some money for them and hopefully educating them. You do a lot of education as well, and really kind of walk people through the process after they sign with you. So I do truly appreciate everything you've done, and I'll see you at AFM as every year, and hopefully we'll talk about those virtual reality revenue streams that we're going to be making.
Great. Thanks so much. Honored to be on your show, and it's always a pleasure.